most products are falling into a trap of the sea of average. Why? Because we are leaving the most important ingredient out of the AI kitchen, you. Today, we are joined by Catalina Turlea, CTO and co-founder of Lovelace, to talk about why engineering can no longer gatekeep the prompt. We explore why your domain expertise, whether you're a PM, a psychologist, or a tax advisor, is the only thing that can turn a non-deterministic black box into a precision tool. We are diving deep into the experimentation mindset, human uniqueness, and empowering the PM. Stop guessing and start measuring. Grab a slice of cake and let's learn how to make AI work for your product, not the other way around. Welcome in our virtual recording studio here at Product and Cake Season 5. Finally, here with me is my co-host, Ghonche.
Hello. I'm really happy to be back with Season 5. We are kicking things off. We are going a little bit more into AI this season, which I think is very appropriate with how the world is going on around us. So I'm also, based on that, really excited about the guest that we have today.
We have the perfect guest invited for this topic. Here with us is Catalina Turlea. Welcome to our podcast, Kata.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
To kickstart this meeting on a more personal level, I want to raise a check-in question. And this check-in question today is, what helps you to regain your center when you're off balance?
So I'm also a mom, and for me, that's kind of what helps me come back to the present, or also understand how difficult things really are, if we're just making things up in our heads, or if it really matters or will matter 5 years from now. So spending time with my daughter is my favorite way to sort of ground myself again.
Nice. Yeah, off screen time, right? And with the human that really requires full attention. Definitely a good way. What is your way, Ghonche, to regain your center when you are off balance?
For me, I think it's a lot about creating. And it can be in any format. It can be this podcast. It can be, recently I'm really into sewing and embroidery. So it can be any form of creating. It can be doing a painting. Yeah, that
Baking?
brings me baking. Exactly. How could I forget? I'm trying to cut down sugar. That's why I haven't been baking as much. How about you, Paul? What brings you back to center?
Actually, funny enough, it is the balance exercises. I read a little bit about physical balance exercises, and they are super, super healthy and very, very difficult to do. And there are super great YouTube exercise videos. And if I have a few minutes between a meeting or a few more minutes, you nowadays see me standing on one leg and doing crazy movements really a lot of time, because as soon as your brain starts to wandering to something else, then I fall. And to avoid that, it really forces me to stay centered and balanced. And I learned it is also very well for longevity. So yeah, this is what I'm doing right now.
Nice. Do you have one of these boards that you can stand on?
Not yet. Most likely this will become level 2, and then I'm not doing it anymore and jump on something else if I follow the pattern here. But let's not judge my steps into longevity and side project. Kata, you are a founder and a CTO. You worked very successful already on your last startup, Nilo Health. Maybe a lot of people know it. Also, maybe a very important thing nowadays to take care about our mental health. But we also need to take care about our data health. and our AI setups and how we integrate AI into our products. And this is exactly what Lovelace is doing. Maybe we can kickstart it with your super short Lovelace pitch.
Sure. So Lovelace is a sandbox for AI features, so intelligent features based on LLM. You can basically bring in your prompt, your test data set, benchmark it across, we're supporting right now 350 LLMs, and then see the aggregated data at scale, and then make your business case from that. See if the performance is acceptable for you, if the latency is something that your product can handle, how does the cost behave at scale. And then, of course, we also help you with a comprehensive error analysis to identify missing context in the prompt, but also in the direction of evals. So deterministic evaluations, but also LLM as a judge for the more advanced use cases.
Wow. Fantastic. So many questions and follow-up topics we will dive in this episode. Kata, we want to learn from you. What brought you to your current company? You are one of the founders, and you said already it is all about measuring AI and the impact of the product. What brought you there? Why did you create this company, and how?
Yeah. So last year, so in beginning of 2025, I left Nilo, and after 6 years of building the product and the team, and it was a transition period for me. So I thought what I can do best is support startups with their technical challenges, because that's where my strength is. And I worked on maybe 10, 12 different projects, from actual hands-on coding to strategic consulting. And a lot of this project had something to do with AI. But how that looked like is that someone wrote a prompt, they chose a model more or less randomly based on LinkedIn, and they just deployed it. And it was just there. Everybody knew that it's not optimal, but they didn't really know how to make it better, how to iterate on it. So initially, I just built myself a benchmarking tool, something that would just take a prompt and run it on multiple models at the same time, because my engineering mind just couldn't accept this uncertainty and this like testing in the dark, basically. And already just by this very small exercise, I could see how much potential was being left on the table, because contrary to popular belief, there's no one LLM that works best for everything. And you actually have to pair the model with the problem that you're trying to solve to actually work with the model, with prompt engineering, of course. And yeah, I still did the consultancy for a few months, but this was kind of a side project in the middle. And I tried it on every single one of the projects. And I said, look here, you could get this much, and this model works so much better for your use case. And my co-founder was also my sister. She was in a similar point at that time, and she had the same reflections, but from the product side. And she actually could understand my vision, even though it was so technical. We decided to join forces and focus a lot on product teams, because that's where we see the biggest potential.
And whenever you say product teams, my ear rings a little bit. So how can a product team benefit from your product? What would you envision that how they can use the product, and what does it bring to them?
Mm-hmm. So apart from this sort of choosing the model before the problem situation, the other part where a lot of potential is lost is the fact that the people that have the business domain and they are domain experts are actually excluded for contributing to AI directly. And these people are actually in most teams product managers, or a tax advisor, or a psychologist, for example. Right now, in most teams, AI defaults to engineering, because traditionally it was a very engineering heavy practice. And with machine learning, that made sense, because it just needed a lot of data and a lot of technical things. But with LLMs, actually the context is the programming language. And if you reduce the sort of copy-paste situation that happens in many teams from prompts to results, and actually put the AI in the hands of the domain experts, that's where we see a very big increase in performance, and actually making the AI really understand the nuances of your domain. Because engineering, while they might understand the technology, they're very rarely experts in their domains. We also think that's the reason I'm convinced that the coding tools are so advanced, because in that case, the engineering team is actually the expert, so they know how they should improve it or what the good results look like. But in all the other use cases, they know some things, but it's more or less average knowledge. And the domain expertise actually sits somewhere else. And in many teams, they are just excluded from this. And that's why we really wanted to lower this technical barrier with Lovelace and put the AI directly in the hands of this product, of the product managers and the domain experts, because you know what good looks like, what your users need to see as insights, what your product needs to communicate, what is your brand, what is your tone, all these nuances that actually take your feature from just an LLM wrapper to actually something that feels like you and has an impact. Because this also was a driving force for my career so far. I was actually using tech to have some sort of impact in the world. And I think now with AI, you just see left and right just so much waste for the sake of an AI label. And yeah, this bothers me very much. So it's my attempt to contribute to it. Yeah.
How does the integration of Lovelace look like? Is it something I copy paste my prompts into and then the product team can work together on it? Or is it something that gets integrated into the productivity stack and monitors our AI usage?
So we're usually clumped together with more of the observability tools in terms of like competitive landscape. We focus a lot on the experimentation before deployment, because if you deploy something that is suboptimal, you can observe it as much as you want. It's not going to change how good it is. And it's basically its own tool. We see it as a sort of single source of truth for your AI features, let's call it like this, a collaboration tool. So still, it's not just product managers that work with it. There's still parts that where engineering can contribute, but we want to just lower the technical barrier, because in all the other tools, you actually, funnily enough, they look very much like the tool that I built for myself, the first version, because as a technical person, almost everything you build reflects your own experience, right? And it mostly looks like an IDE, which can cut out people that don't really feel comfortable in this environment. So we're trying to lower the technical barrier so you feel comfortable actually as a product manager or as a non-technical expert in your company to work on the prompt and to test different models, to look at the results on your own, and to just experiment. And then, of course, you can decide if you want to deploy through us and also get the observability part of it, or you can just take your prompt, your model, and your parameters and deploy it by yourself in your backend.
I want to get a little bit more into your team, and also talking a little bit about eating your own dog food. How do you use Lovelace in your team right now? And how is your team dynamic at the moment? How big are the teams? How do you collaborate with each other?
Yes. And so we're still very early stage. We are 3 founders, as I mentioned. My co-founder, Mara, her background is in product management, and we have Anton, who's leading our outreach, go-to-market, and he's also the German speaking, so he does all the German bureaucracy and stuff. And we also have a 3 women tech team. So we're very female focused in our at Lovelace, and we do exactly the same. Like the framework that we propose to our customers, it's also the exact framework that we use for our own features. Where we've seen AI-backed features work really well are points where your user might need some sort of expert level insights. If you've followed us for some time, you know that we're a bit against, or not against, but the chatbot is not the only solution to add AI to your product, and actually it puts a lot of cognitive load on the user rather than you as the product expert would take this responsibility and guide the user throughout. So at every point where now us as, let's say, AI builders, experts, where we would like to guide you better in the process of in this experimentation process, that's where we put in AI features that we then we first validate with Lovelace. For example, once you've run your prompt against your test data set against multiple models, this can be hundreds of LLM calls, you then see a big table with all the data and all the insights. This is a very common use case to use AI to give people that are not yet experts an understanding of the data, as if someone that is an expert would read these tables with them. So this was one of the first features that we did, help you understand, like, I look at this table and it just overwhelms me. What should I do next? What does it mean? I don't know what it means. And this is where we really see that AI can bring value in. It just basically acts like you, whatever your product is, you guiding them through the process in a way that it was not possible before AI. We do the same with, for example, prompt engineering techniques. So when you're writing your prompt, we do the same with error analysis, understanding where you should improve, where you can put in an LLM as a judge or a normal evaluation. Everywhere in the product, we are still not close to having all the things implemented because we're still a small team, but yeah.
And how does the setup look like? So if I want to start now as a product manager with my product team, we want to start using Lovelaice, how's the setup going to look like to make it aware of our domain knowledge? Because I'm sure there is some context that it is missing.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked to maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 product teams in 2026 alone, and everybody has a different setup, or they found their own way through to kind of organize things. The easiest way maybe let's say like this, teams are usually on a spectrum. So there's teams that have not started anything yet, so they only have ideas of where they could implement AI. And there's teams that already have a very complex setup. Maybe they were using traditional AI methods before, like computer vision or OCR, and now they're switching to LLMs because they're providing better results than the traditional methods. And depending where you are on this scale, you basically have different entry points. If you just have an idea, then basically you can use the platform to just see what would be possible. And also in which parameters, because you have to, it's non-deterministic, right? So you have to decide what is an acceptable performance percentage for you, an accuracy percentage, what is an acceptable latency, and also what is an acceptable cost for you at scale. And with this, basically build a business case to see if this actually makes sense for you to implement it or not. We've had cases at Lovelace where without changing to the prompts or to the feature itself, it just didn't make any sense because you would have to pay more than what you're actually getting. And that is we find it a very important aspect in teams. It's usually either teams don't care about it at all, or they care so much that they never start with AI because they're so scared that the costs are going to get them. But there is a middle way where you can actually make an informed decision. If you do have, for example, a very complex setup, then there would have to be, we usually work closer with our teams, with our clients, to see how we can make it work. For example, we still also, many teams have chatbots, right? In that case, the data set would be a conversation with multiple answers, would be one test case, basically, and go as granular as you need to for your use case. That is, everybody has different requirements. But most basic, you would bring in your prompt, your test data set. Hopefully you have some, even if you have some that's also annotated, or you already know what the expected result is for it, that it would make it much easier to get started, to actually be able to validate the AI at scale. But if not, then you can start with manual evaluation and extend from that.
So you would say it is a good idea to bring Lovelace as early as possible into the product development cycle, or do you have any ideal point in time where your service should be used?
I would say as early as possible, but that also sounds like maybe like a sales answer. But what we see it, the unlock that is really critical for teams is to have a better understanding of what is actually possible. Because if you don't experiment across different models, or you don't experiment with your prompts, you're basically just making a choice based on one solution only. And when it comes to AI, it's very difficult to make, because our brains trick us into things also. For example, we're very biased towards the newest generation of models, because in our head, newest means better. And we would always choose the newest model because we think that's for sure the best one, whatever I'm trying to do. And that is not the case. We actually do blind evaluations at Lovelace, so you don't see what answers come from what model, because we see our own biases as well. And we are putting, without any data, we are already making things up in our heads with every single feature that we did at Lovelace, or every experiment. We actually imagined beforehand where the AI is going to fail. So we thought, for sure, it's not going to understand the numbers. It's going to get this thing wrong. And actually where it failed was completely different, and none of the models failed how we expected them to fail. So if you don't go through this process, you're just missing so many, they're basically like extraction points for the context that the AI actually needs, because you do put in the prompt whatever you think is relevant, but how the AI understands your domain and how you understand it, it's different. And you can only tell it if you see what parts it misunderstands, especially if you can compare side by side different models, different answers from different models. Then you can say, oh, I really like this one formatted it like with bullet points, and it only gave me 3 options, and the tone in this one is really nice. And here I really like how it said hello for, I don't know, an email or something. So it's this process is really able to extract really fast very important details for your AI from you as the expert, that you never, we all become blind, right, to the things that we do all the time. It's very hard to go back to not knowing all the details that we do now. And this process helps you extract those insights really well.
On the one hand, we go blind. On the other hand, we are totally overwhelmed with all the possibilities. And it feels like every day there are plenty of new models and versions. And now another competitor just pops up somewhere. So keeping aware of that and testing all over something we assumed is already done is something that becomes super, super important, because we can increase quality and we can also save a lot of cost, right? In monitoring that and including the choice of the right LLM into our product development lifecycle. That is definitely a new challenge that is arising at the moment in our industry. On the other hand, we see more and more LinkedIn posts and get the feeling that maybe nowadays it is super easy to just tell Claude, hey, give me a table that runs my prompts through several models and help me to find the best one. How do you see, or where do you see the industry going? And is there still a need for this kind of custom solutions or services you are building?
Yeah, where things are going, that is the question that everybody's trying to answer. I don't know if I have an answer to that. What I really think matters is this domain expertise context, basically. And of course, you could tell Claude, choose the best one for me. But what you're doing there is you're defaulting to AI too fast. This is the problem. Also, why a lot of the features, AI features out there, disappoint us. Every one of us tried something and they're like, oh my God, please, this is not working at all. And it's because we are just defaulting too fast. Either we default to the latest family of model because we think it's the best one without really having data, or we just default the evaluations to something too fast. And AI can only do, without the right context and your expertise and your guidance, the AI can only do as average as their training data. So if you want average, which is a lot what we're seeing out there, just like the wrappers on the LLMs, then that's basically what you get. If you do want an AI that actually reasons the closest to how you would as an expert, then you have to go through the process of extracting this expertise in a systematic way so that it can actually go away from the average results from the training data and actually answers you as an expert. And this is the part that I think we as humans, but at least in my perspective, still the part that is valuable. The creativity, the expertise, the insights, seeing new ways. This part is something that we cannot default, right? The AI is just regurgitating its own stuff. If we don't put new things in it, we're just gonna get stuck there, right? So I really truly believe that this part is gonna still be relevant, and it's gonna set apart what is actually meaningful AI versus just basically everybody could just paste in there and ask ChatGPT and get an answer, right? But it's not what you need to hear.
And it is also not what you want to ship as a product today, because as you said, I really like that without fine-tuning and build your expertise into that product, you will just get average. And the average everybody has today, and this will just be accelerated if more and more products just integrate basic AI features. And it is still our challenge and our duty to put our own products apart and find the new angle that really adds some more creativity and some more uniqueness and make this one thing special, as it was before too. Now it is just a little bit more complicated and even faster paced.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I am what we've seen also by giving non-technical people the tool to actually experiment, also for ourselves, for me and Mara, my co-founder. I'm not an AI engineer. She's not also. And this experimentation is actually what helped us make it through the overwhelm and the frustration and the, oh my God, what is everybody talking about? Because once you start experimenting and you see what you can actually do and how it works, and you understand that for your use case, you are actually the best person to implement this. Everybody can implement LLMs, but surfacing those kind of insights for your product, you're the only one that can do it. That's why in a lot of cases, teams working with AI consultants didn't go so well, because you cannot outsource this expertise. You have to put this expertise or work with it as close as possible to the AI, so that it actually goes away from average and goes to amazing. And it's actually something very freeing, at least for me, to see, okay, everybody, there's no one perfect solution, because I think this is where the industry is making so much noise and so much overwhelm. I have this perfect thing and it works for me all the time. That is not true. Once you understand how things are working, you can see that for one use case, maybe things are like this, but it doesn't apply everywhere else. And it's a tool like all the other tools, and we have to find our way to use it. And understanding this for me was empowering and helped me be able to sort through the noise.
And I really liked what you said, that people need to start trying it, and also you, through the experimentation, you learned a lot. I want to approach it from the angle of someone who is really, really overwhelmed by all the news, all the information that is going on around AI at the moment. And at this point, I feel it has been created a monster out of it, that if someone wants to join this world of AI, how to use AI, how to build AI products, and all of these different steps, that is basically going to be a requirement from now on going forward. If you want to change your job, if you want to join a new company, this will be part of your responsibilities. How would you suggest a person like that to start? Where would you recommend them to start getting more familiar with AI?
We see this a lot, and we also see a big part of what we do at Lovelace is not just the platform, but we do a lot of educational content around. So we have almost weekly master classes where we just run one of these experiments together and kind of try to demystify a little bit what it is, what it means. One thing I see a lot, and this maybe will be surprising also because my background is technical, but in a lot of teams, the engineering team kind of gatekeeps the access to AI. And I understand why, because they said traditionally that was where the technology belonged, and also everybody wants to play with this new shiny thing and see what they can get. But I think it's actually hurting, and it's contributing to this overwhelming feeling, because as a product manager, if you can never see the prompt or actually have access to it, then you're in your head is like this magical thing that you basically cannot really envision it in your head. And I think that makes things a bit more difficult, and it fuels this overwhelming feeling. And if you would actually just start small. Okay, I'm building a personalizing email flow. Everybody had to do email at some point in their career. And see what it's actually possible and how easy it is to integrate. It kind of dissolves the whole magic around it. So as I said, for me, my journey was experimentation, so that you actually take Lovelace or some other platform where you actually can communicate to the LLM directly and try to build yourself some sort of a small feature. For me, that would be the advice, to just try it out. We also run a Maven course, and we just finished the first cohort, and it was non-technical people that joined. Everybody just joined in with an idea, and the first prompt was something like 2 sentences for almost everybody. And then when seeing those first results, everybody started to think sort of at scale, like how would this work for multiple people, or not just for my use case, and for this and for that. And then it's like things start to come up, and all you need for this is the expertise in your own domain. you don't need to be technical.
That is beautiful, and I can really underline it. Trying out things, comparing different LLMs, seeing also during that comparison what is marketing hyped and what it really can do and how they differ, and that they differ also a lot for certain aspects is very interesting. And then also I want to remember again on our check-in question, what helps you to regain your center is not only an invite to you both to answer that question, but also to all of our listeners to really ask that, right? And find ways on how to deal physically with all this overwhelming situation we are in. And one really beautiful thing to deal with that is meeting in real life. And if you are listening this episode before the 26th of March, you still have the chance to see Kata joining our panel talking about AI as a teammate. I will moderate it, and if we are super lucky and the global transportation system is working as expected, then we may even see Ghonche there. She promised to be in the audience too. Let's see if she can make it, but at least you will definitely see Kata and me. And yeah, we are really looking forward. And thank you so much, Kata, for joining and sharing this glimpse into your daily work with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. And everybody, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or whatever other resources we share. And I hope to also see you in person in Berlin. Super excited about that. Thank you.
Yes, same here. And as our last question for the episode, this is a question that we will ask everyone at the end of the episode to end it with a little bit of a more fun note. And that is, what is the last thing you used AI for?
Ghonche, do you think the answer will always be summarize product and cake podcast and give me a quick glimpse what they did before?
I hope so.
For me, it was, I'm actually preparing for a pitch. So I just drafted a few versions of my pitch and then put it into 11 Labs so that I can listen to it to see how it sounds. And you can choose like different voices. So you can choose, this very classical, hey, everybody, welcome to my pitch. And it was kind of interesting to see what adjustment I should make.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is a really cool use case.
Yeah.
Really
Alrighty.
nice.
Thanks everyone for being with us with another episode of Product and Cake. And if you can make it on 26th of March, I hope I can make it there, but you will see definitely Paul and Kata there. And bye until next time.
See you next time. Don't forget to subscribe and recommend. Bye.
See you.